You are now tuning in to the All Things Good podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the All Things Good podcast. I am your coach and your host, Giovanna Sorillo. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast that helps you with mental health, self development, and your overall wellness, helping you become the greatest version of yourself. Today, we're going to be talking about being unapologetically you. And I have to say, this is directly for my women. So, ladies, if you're in the room, stay. But men, I'm going to need you to stick around too because when you listen to episodes like this, you have a greater understanding of how women think, right? So, stick around. Today, we're going to be talking about being unapologetically you, breaking cycles, and raising standards. And to discuss this topic, we have a guest by the name of Michelle Annaleise Coles, who is the author of Unapologetically You, The Path to Unshakable Self-Love. She is a certified relationship coach dedicated to helping women reclaim their voice, their confidence, and their standards. Her work centers on healing, self-love, and breaking cycles that no longer serve you without sugarcoating the truth. Join me in today's episode with Michelle Annalise Coles. Welcome, Michelle. How are you doing today?
I'm well. How are you?
I am doing great. I'm excited to talk to you today because, everything that you stand for and the work that you do, I'm all for it. I'm
Thank
all for
you.
it.
Same here. I'm all for your work as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Definitely mutual.
So you talk a lot about being unapologetically you. You have a
Mhm.
book written on that. So
Mhm.
tell me, what exactly does that mean and what does that look like in real day-to-day life?
Oh, just it's so much to cover on that. But to start, I would say don't apologize for wanting to take care of you.
Mm,
A lot of people, too often, people are always apologizing. Like, I'm so sorry, but no, you're supposed to take time for yourself. You're supposed to do these things. You're supposed to set boundaries. Like, some people feel bad when they set boundaries.
right.
And I'm like, no, don't apologize. You don't apologize for setting boundaries. Don't apologize for taking care of yourself. Don't apologize for loving yourself, wanting to, want better for yourself. So I'm really heavy on that.
I see. And you know what's crazy is that you say don't apologize. I still have this habit, even though I'm strong on my boundaries, I'm all about taking care of myself, but I still find myself saying I'm sorry sometimes. Like, I'm sorry I can't do this today.
Mm,
Right. And it's
mm,
like, I think it's just a program, like a wiring, just trying to
mhm,
be, because a lot of the times when you are standing on being unapologetically you and taking care of yourself and setting
mhm,
standards, I think that a lot of the times it can come off as ego rather than
mm.
confidence. So, how
Um,
can someone kind of discern whether it is actually ego or confidence happening?
you know what? I don't even think about that
Hmm.
because my no is my no. Like, no, I can't do it. If you take it a different way, I think that's on you
Okay.
because and I understand you when you say like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do
Hmm.
this. And I guess that's just a polite way. But if somebody's like, hey, can you pick me up at such and such? And I know I'm busy that day. Oh, no, I'm busy that day. That's
Right.
it. Now, if they feel a certain way, I don't know. I'm not really sorry. I have learned not to apologize when I'm not sorry.
I love
you
that.
know, so and I don't want people to apologize to me if they're not sorry, So it's the same thing. So that's why it's like my tone isn't rude when I'm telling
Hmm.
them, hey, no, I can't do that, or maybe another time or whatever. My tone is calm. So if they get something else and they think it's an ego thing, then I'm like, I didn't give you that though. So
Right.
you know,
So you're saying it's more of a them problem than a you problem.
exactly.
Okay. I get it. I get it. Now, why do you think so many women struggle with feeling guilty for having standards?
Um, because they're always being put down about, oh, your standards are too high. Uh, oh, it makes them feel like, and I just want to go by just a few women I know personally who are
Hmm.
actually struggling with this. Uh, oh, they're stuck up. Oh, they're too needy. oh, they have these demands. And I think they just feel like that because they're constantly getting critique about it or always getting bashed about it. It's like, again, that's not their problem. That's a them problem, not, I think that's more so where it's coming from. Just trying to hear my clients when they're telling me how they feel about it. I actually had someone say, "Hey, should I lower my standards?" And I'm like, "Wait, what?" No, if they're your standards, they're your standards. Now we know some people have unrealistic, things,
Right.
and that's when you're like, "Okay, listen, you're allowed to have it." But if you don't go anywhere with it, that's because that's where you're at with it. I'm always telling people, look, your standards are your standards. But if they're unrealistic, I'm going to tell you, like, all right, keep your standards if you think this is what it is. But just
Right.
this is going to be the outcome, most
Exactly.
likely. So, but no, 9 out of 10, a lot of women that I talk to, their standards aren't that high.
Mm.
I mean, it's high for someone who can't reach, and that's how I look at it.
Do you think, because while you're talking, I'm like, it looks like it could stem from two things, right? Because the first one could be they're thinking that their standards are never going to be met, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing is when they do set their standards, will people be intimidated by these standards?
Mm.
Have you often seen that, like where, like on the other
Yes.
side of the spectrum?
Yes. Or some women think they'll be lonely with
Mm,
it because, with these standards. And the first step is not looking at it as being lonely.
mm,
You know, I think that's where the self-love comes in because when you're doing all these things for yourself, you're already full of love where, anyone else is just an addition to your love already.
right.
So it's and it's great to have somebody. I'm never telling somebody, oh, don't ever have anybody, but I always tell people, if your standards are not those unrealistic standards that we talk about, you'll find the right one.
I
you
agree.
know uh I tell people sometimes when they have like this, even when they have like the financial criteria where they're like, oh, I want this, and I'm like, all right, so and you're allowed to want those things, sure. But I'm going to let you know what's realistic about. Like, hey, you may not get that, or what comes with that sometimes is
Mm,
this.
right.
So I'm like, it just makes it slimmer. Not saying that you won't get it. It's just
Right.
they may have all of this, but they might be lacking, the emotional intelligence and all that other stuff. So
Exactly.
I
And
try to, you know.
try to balance it out, give them some
Yeah,
wisdom
because I
of,
want them to have their standards. I want them to have that. If you want someone who's a provider, if you want someone, that leads, and provide and always say it's not necessarily just financial,
hmm
you just want that leader. I'm so for that. I'm for that. A man should lead. I believe that. I truly believe that. But if you want someone now, if you're just saying, hey, I don't want to do anything. Now you may find that too, but again, those chances are slimmer.
Right. In today's
So
society,
it,
it
it
could be
really, it
very
really
slim.
is. It really is. So I'm like, okay, if that's what you want, but it may take a little longer.
Right. I think that when it comes to standards, a lot of women tend to not even know what their standards are because they haven't gone
Mm,
through the process of like healing, getting to know
mm,
themselves, and like you
yeah.
said, self-love. And so when you
Mm-hmm.
ask them, what are your standards? I don't know. Yeah, because you don't really truly know what you
Yeah.
want. I have
Yeah.
to tell you that I was single. I was like not dealing with anybody for about 10 years. And within those 10
Mhm.
years, I learned me.
Nice.
I learned the things that I like, the things that I don't like. I
Yeah.
learned, and I'm still learning me because we
Mhm,
change,
of
right?
course.
We
We
evolve.
do. We do.
But I learned my non-negotiables. I
Yes.
learned, different things, the things that I thought I wanted. I'm like, no, I don't actually like that. I like
Mm-hmm.
this because I took the
Mm-hmm.
time to get to know myself.
Yeah.
So, do you help women like who are like on your in your coaching practice or in your
Mhm.
programs, do you help them kind of get to that self-love first before they
Oh,
can
yes.
even enter a
Yes.
relationship?
Yes, yes. I definitely do because I'm heavy on some people want to jump in from one relationship to
Mm,
another and then they have all these problems that they're unloading onto the next person,
right.
because the next person may not be bad, but you have the trust issues, right? You have all these things and these barriers up because of your past relationship.
Right.
So I'm always having my clients work on themselves and it's worth it. Sometimes they're
Mm,
like, "Oh, I want to get in the dating world." And I'm just like, "Listen, it's okay to go out and have fun, maybe have a dinner, you know, but don't get too caught up because you're still working on you."
right.
And sometimes they end up picking the same. I notice when they're not true. I can always tell when they're truly not healed, right? Because they're always looking for the same thing they left, you know.
Mm,
And I'm like, that's just a different font. It's the same, same story, different font. And I'm always telling I'm like you're not ready yet. You're not ready yet. And then I always give them the option to, basically you can make your own choice, but I'm gonna tell
right.
you this is what it is. And then when they happen to go out there and they're like, okay, you were right, this, and I'm like, listen, I'm not one to say I told you so, but I'm also just like, listen, you have to work on you. You have to
Right.
change up where you're going. If you're always meeting the guys at the bar, you probably should stop going to the bar.
Right.
I mean, you don't have to stop going to the bar, but stop meeting the guys at the bar. Just changing it up, you
Right.
know. You got to stop picking the same guy because you're going to be with the same problems.
Right. Exactly. And that comes along with breaking cycles, right?
Definitely.
Now you are a relationship coach. So you coach both men and women?
I do. I
Okay.
do. And at one point, I clearly I have more women clients than male
Mm-hmm.
clients. At one point, I wanted to be all women,
Okay.
because sometimes men, it's hard for them to listen. Let's put it like that, for lack of a word. You know, they want to do their own thing, and then
Mm-hmm.
they come back and they're like, "Look, you were right. I'm sorry," and I'm like, "All right." But when it comes to self love and everything like that, mostly my clients are women when it's the individual clients. I coach couples though. I do prefer doing that a lot with the self love and the couples more
Mm-hmm.
than, and sometimes with the couples, sometimes I do individual with them. So one day it'll be the
Okay.
male partner, then the woman, and we'll just kind of figure things out. But yeah, majority of my clients are women.
Okay. So this next question is going to be a two-part question because I want to know both sides.
Mhm.
What cycles do you happen to see women get stuck in the most? And then I want to
Ooh,
know what cycles you happen to see couples get stuck in the most.
good question. The cycles with women. Uh, I would have to say, ooh, I would have to say accountability with women. Oh yes. Look,
Ooh.
sometimes that gets, sometimes that
Hello.
it was between accountability and settling
Okay.
just because they don't want to be alone. Because
Let's talk about accountability though, because
yeah, but the accountability is what's really, is the deal. So, yeah, part of me being a coach is helping you hold yourself accountable.
right.
The man isn't always wrong.
Mm,
We have to say, and then there's some things with you, like sometimes you're the red flag.
right.
And I've had clients that I had to tell, like, listen, everything you're telling me right now is not him being a red flag. It's you being a red flag. And sometimes it's hard for them to digest that. They're like, what? What? Like,
Right.
listen, I'm not here to only pick your side when it comes to that. The thing is, I'm unbiased. I'm going to tell you what's real because you want it to work. If you want your life to get better, this is where it starts.
Exactly.
So I would definitely have to say accountability is number one for women. Because they struggle with that, you know. I think at some point we do struggle with that. Even I feel like certain things I'm like, wait a minute, and then I have to like bring it back, like, all right, maybe I could have did better or whatever with this. So I get it, you
Right.
know. As far as couples, the biggest thing is the communication,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or communication is so heavy. People struggle so much with communication, transparency. Uh, it's that's definitely the number one for couples. It's like, and they are always assuming,
Mm.
and I'm like, you can't assume if you're not a mind reader. You can't go on and just and you know, and it goes both ways. You know, oh, I thought she should have known this, blah blah blah, or
Mm-hmm.
he should have known this. Well, how was she going to know if you didn't tell her? You know,
Right.
um, and that to me is the ego that gets with that. You know, because ego is something else too.
It is.
So, and I think ego and communication kind of go hand in hand because some of them like, well, I'm not going to communicate because, you know, such. So that's where the ego is at. And I'm always like, listen, y'all got to put the ego aside, so you can communicate. But,
Right.
so yeah, communication.
I see that a lot. I'm not a relationship coach, but I do watch a lot of videos or
Hmm.
shows that pertain to that. And often you see, or just people just, you have different podcasts that you watch where men are talking about the women and the women are talking about the men. And
Yes.
what it really comes down to is like you said, it's a communication. I think that both parties, like both men and women, tend to
Hmm.
communicate, but we communicate so differently that sometimes it's like, when do we meet in the middle? Like,
Yes.
you're saying
Compromising.
this
Hmm.
and I'm saying this, but we're not on the same like mindset. So
Yeah.
finding that common ground where I think, again, I'm not a relationship coach, but learning each other's communication style,
Oh,
learning
yes.
each other so that when they
Definitely.
say something, you're like, okay, they don't really mean that because,
Hmm.
and then asking, what do you really mean? What
Yeah.
are you saying?
Yeah.
Right? Can you
Yeah.
explain that so I'm not in my head going crazy,
Right.
filling in the empty spaces?
Right. No, and you know, you don't have to be a relationship coach to know what is right and
Right.
what, you know, you don't. Uh and you're right. You're 100% right. There's no compromising. It almost seems like they're fighting to who's going to win.
Mm,
You know, like, oh, but this, and it's like you're not winning. You're trying
mm,
to come up with a solution to get you on the right track. And
right.
I think once people realize like you're not battling each other, you know, and you're really just fighting to find a solution, it makes things a lot easier,
Mm,
you know. Like your partner isn't your enemy,
right.
you know, and you have to stop looking at it like that because some people are just ripping people's heads off, and I'm like, that isn't your enemy. So why do they need that?
Hmm.
You know, I mean, there's people who we don't care about or we don't like, and we don't even give them that. So why would you give it to your partner?
I love
Uh,
that.
so if you could communicate, if you listen, we're around people we don't like a lot of times, but we deal with them because we may have to, maybe in the workplace, wherever. But we know how to be cordial. We know how to get our message across, whatever. So we should be able to do that with our partner.
Right.
And
I
that, and
think,
that's what
I'm
I try to
sorry.
stress. No, you're fine. That's what I try to stress with everybody. Like, listen, and you have to listen. A lot of people are just talking to just respond. Listening is a big, big factor.
This is what I was just about to say. Let's talk about that because
Yes,
a lot of
yes,
us just want to speak and we don't want to hear and understand and comprehend.
yeah,
No, we just want to go off at the mouth. Let's talk about
yes.
that.
What I will say this is that we as women, we're this. Like, oh, we want to get this point across, like where men are always trying to process
Mm-hmm.
and think about it. They take a little longer. And sometimes we're like, well, what the heck is taking you so long?
How
You just
long? Like it's been days now. You
right,
still thinking?
right. It's like I gave you 1 minute to think about it. Like, why are you? I'm like, you're just ready. And that, I will have to say, we as women were more so the ones that cut people off. And sometimes it's like the man is just going in the wrong direction. Like, we're not even talking about that. So we're like jumping in because all we want to do is try to get to this point and solve it.
Right.
But men are looking at it as we're not respecting them. We don't value
Mm-hmm.
their, when they're talking, and then that makes them shut down. So I definitely understand their view on it. I am definitely someone who cuts people off sometimes, and I'm like, oh, sorry, go ahead. Like, like, because it's just like I'm ready to, you have so much to say.
Right.
Where men don't really always have so much to say, then they're sitting, like I said, sometimes they're sitting back, like, and you're like, are they done? So, you know, yeah, but we have to listen. We have to listen. That's a big thing. A lot of times I tell my clients, the couples, when they're having that issue, sometimes it's better just to write it
Mm.
and give it to your partner when you know you're always cutting each other off. You're in a headspace where you're arguing and now you're just over it. Sometimes it's just best to write it.
I
Because
like that.
when you're reading what somebody is saying, you can't cut that off. You just have to
Right.
read. And you could read it again if you're not comprehending it the first time. So
And I think tone plays a big part too, right? When you're reading
very
it,
much.
you're more,
Yeah. Because if you're
you're more.
yelling, like I know personally, me with relationships, I mean married, but just with friendships anywhere, if somebody yells at me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm already somewhere else. Like, because one, who you yelling at? But it's like, you already shut down.
Right.
But men also are like that. So if we're more emotional about things, we're passionate about things. So when we're coming at the man, sometimes it's loud and it's like, well, they're already done listening because now they feel attacked.
Right.
So you're right. Tone is a big key to that.
Yeah. I see that a lot. Like on when you scroll, like the men are just tired of the women, yelling and not letting them talk or all these things. And I'm like, man, we got to do better. Because we do
Mm-hmm.
as women. And I know that a lot of us are doing better. I know a lot of us are
Oh,
doing the
yeah.
work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're creating a safe space for
Yes.
men to finally speak about their feelings and speak about their days and their struggles. So I know that there are some women doing the work, but then there are others that are just like, just I
Like they
guess
don't
that's
think men have feelings. They don't think men are supposed to voice their feelings.
right.
And I'm like, they're not a robot. you know? I think with men, and even men sometimes feel like that. They're not supposed to show their emotions and
Hmm.
things. And it's just a part of being raised, being taught to hold your emotions, be a man, and all those good things.
Right.
Um, and there's still people like that won't show any, there's still men that won't show any emotion. And I'm like, you have to let that go. Like, it's okay. And if your partner doesn't think it's okay, then she's just not the one for you. So, because you
Right.
should be able to voice your opinion, you should be able to voice your emotion, how you feel about something, and that should be it.
I agree. Now let's talk about breaking cycles. I mean, after all
Mm.
this that we were speaking about, it looks like a lot of women and men, they're repeating cycles that they've seen. And how do they begin to break out of that? How do you coach individuals and couples to
Ooh.
recognize their patterns and then begin to break them?
I usually have my clients write something about themselves. Basically, a list of things. It could be a list of things about themselves. It could be a paragraph, whatever it is, a page full of things
Hmm.
that they do, whether it's in relationships, friendships, with family. Um, And I also have them talk about their past relationships and just how it is. Like, how is it with your parents? How is it with your siblings? How is it with your friends? How was it with your exes? And usually that pattern is all the same, you know, and you're like, okay, so this is where we have to check it, you know.
Right.
Um, and then we just go by there. Now people have different reasons, you know, with their cycles, what they need to break. But a lot of times it has been just trauma that they dealt with when they were younger, or just something they're used to. You know, sometimes people don't correct things. And that's all about the accountability. Nobody's holding you accountable. So you're
Mm.
kind of thinking like, all these years I've been doing this, and it's been working, or it really hasn't been working, but you've been getting away with it. And then we
Right.
just start talking about, okay, now these are the steps we need to take. Like, this is not okay. Now that's when I'm holding them accountable.
Mm.
This is not okay. This is what you did wrong in this relationship. You know, this is what you're doing wrong. And like I said, the relationship doesn't have to be, you know, romantic. It could be, like I said, family, friends, you
Right.
know. Uh, and then we start changing our approach little by little, because that takes time, you know, because sometimes people are so comfortable of being who they are, you know, and my clients, I mean, they're mostly 30 plus, you know. So if you've been that way 30 years, 40, you know, all your life, it's kind of like, all right, this is going to take some time. And you have to, and I need them to hold themselves, they have to hold themselves accountable before we can even break those cycles. Because if they
Right.
don't agree, then the cycle isn't going to be broken. And that's the big part. So it's really a process. And I wrote something about breaking cycles. So, you know, to tell them like this is what you need to do. So it's
I love
definitely a
that.
process. It's a step by step, you know, revisit. Hey, what's going on? This didn't work for you then. Let's see what could work for you now. So
Right. Accountability is such a big, big part when it comes
it
to breaking
really is.
cycles because we can play a blind eye and blame everything and everyone else,
Yeah.
right? The blame game. Oh, because
Yeah.
of my mom, because of my
Yep.
dad, and this is okay, but we are how old now?
Exactly. And I have people like I have friends, you know, and acquaintances that talk about that. Like, I'm this way because when I was younger and when I was a kid, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting here like, you 40 something years old. You know, you can't use
Right,
that anymore. You
right.
know, you can't use that anymore. And to me, that is an excuse because you rather say, look, this is why I am this way, and this is the trauma that's making me this way, instead of fixing that
Mm-hmm.
issue. Because it's better to be, and I don't want to, I guess sometimes you got to say it, for lack of a word, it's better to be a victim than
Mm,
to be that. And, you know, and I get people's trauma. I don't ever
right.
dismiss that. I know it exists. But if you're only talking about the trauma and you haven't done the work to work on that trauma, then what are we doing? At this
Right.
point, you're just using it to get out of things because you don't want to hold yourself accountable for the things that you're doing. It always boils down to accountability.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I've told people like I have a life. My life was pretty decent, but I've had trauma. I had certain things go on, but I don't hold on to that. You have to do the work.
Definitely, definitely. I know that when I took that time to myself, I had to be accountable because if I had not been accountable, I would not be where I am now. And it's not that I'm perfect and I'm just this great, woman. I still have my faults and my
Yeah, we all
moments. I'm
do.
still emotional. I still have my triggers,
Hmm.
but I catch them quickly.
Yes.
I
Yes.
catch them before anyone else can.
Hmm. And it's and that's the best part. That's, you know, that's how you know you did the work
Mm-hmm.
because you're
Right.
able to do that, you know. And some people aren't able to get there, you know, to even get to that point. They
Yeah.
don't realize what they're doing wrong. They don't realize, you know, a lot of women and men don't have that self-worth. They don't, you know, so you did the work. And you're
Right.
not supposed to be perfect. That's all a part of
Right.
us being human. We're none of us are. So, and like I said, I'm a relationship coach, and I don't handle certain things perfectly. I'm like, come on. But I know how to fix it. I know
Right.
how to be like, all right, that was wild. I need to
Mm-hmm.
rewind that back. So, but yeah.
Now, speaking about being perfect, earlier you mentioned that you recommend, you suggest, you don't
Mm,
tell them no, they can't because that's not your position, but you
mm,
suggest for them to, stay single for a while, go through the process, to go through the healing.
yeah.
Now, what about, do you think it is possible for someone to be in a relationship and still go on their healing journey?
Um, yes, as long as you are seeking some kind of therapy or coaching, depending on what it is that you need. Um, and you're doing that work
Mm-hmm.
and taking those steps. But if you're not doing it and you're just trying to self heal, that may be harder because you can self heal, right? If you're just looking into things, if you're working on yourself, but it's kind of hard to do that when somebody is
Yeah.
in the picture, right? You need a little help, like I said, whether it's with therapy or a coaching, you need some type of assistance because you got to figure out. It's hard when you're doing multiple things because now you have to cater to this partner. You have
Mm-hmm.
to do these certain things, but you're still having these other issues. So you're not fully working on yourself at this point. So I think it's difficult if you're trying to self heal. It's a little easier if you're going through the therapy and the coaching because not everyone needs therapy. Some people just need coaching.
Right.
And some people I've had a lot of potential clients that I had to say, listen, I need you to go to therapy first and then come to me. Because they
Mm.
had a lot of trauma. One of the reasons why I didn't want to be a therapist is because I don't want to dwell on the past because I really want to focus on the present and your future.
Right.
So I've had to tell the clients, hey, I need you to go here first. Once you do this, come back. Then we'll start taking those steps. So as long as they're doing that, I think they can. It may be a challenge because it depends on their partner, right?
Right.
And and it depends on what it is that you're trying to heal. Because if you're trying to learn yourself, it's not fair for that partner if you outgrow them or So,
Yes.
you know, uh I personally think, and I don't recommend if you're healing, if you're in a process of healing, I don't suggest being with anybody, you know, unless you're already in something, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
then that's when it's easier to do. But to go into something new while you're still working on yourself, you may change your mind. And it may be nothing they did wrong. It's
Right.
just, you're just not there anymore.
I
So,
like that. That's so good because it's hard because people can become a trigger. I think that being in a relationship, I think it has its perks and its cons,
mhm,
like its pros
mhm,
and cons,
mhm,
because some may think that they are healed in a specific area, and then they get in a relationship. Like for instance, you're working on yourself 10 years, and all of a sudden you're in a relationship, and you're like, oh wait, hold on, I still have abandonment issues.
mm,
They might not be as bad as they were before,
mhm,
but I'm still getting triggered
mhm.
when this person isn't responding to me quick enough or, attachment issues. And so I feel like there's two sides to it because it kind of shows you the areas that you still need to work on. But it's like, it's nice, like you said, if you have a partner that understands
Mhm.
and that can, help you and communicate with that. But if
Yes.
you don't have someone who communicates and you're dealing with abandonment issues, then
Yeah.
maybe you should just continue to do a little bit more healing before anything.
Definitely. And then in that case, if you're already in this relationship with this person and you're dealing with abandonment issues and things like that, you may be able to go seek therapy or coaching to help you with that in the process.
Right.
Maybe that's when you do the couples. coaching, and depending how serious it is, you know, the relationship, which I'm assuming it's serious, then that's when you go get the help together.
Right.
And I always say, you know, a lot of men don't like therapy, a lot of men don't like coaching. So if they're willing to do that with you so they can understand where you're coming from, that's important. And it could be worth keeping, you know. But if they're
Right.
not understanding and they're just dismissing it and are just like, oh, whatever, then that's not the person for you. I
I
always say that
agree.
because your partner should want you to be better. Your partner should, even if they don't necessarily understand, but they want you to be well because they're sometimes they can't relate, and that's okay.
Right.
But if they're supportive about it, whatever it is that you need to do, to me, that's important. So,
I agree. And I think it's like relationships, every relationship is different.
mm-hmm.
And so I want our listeners to know that what may be working for me or may be working for Michelle may not work for you. And
Yes,
so don't just take this episode and run with it. We're just having a
mm-hmm. Yes,
discussion. We're just having an open conversation on different things. But if you
exactly.
feel like, you know, you need more answers or more clarity and direction, then reach out to Michelle.
Mm-hmm.
See what direction you should go in your particular situation because there is no one size fits all. We are all different, we are all unique, and we're created uniquely. And is for someone to ever say that it has to be one way, it's just not correct. So reach out to Michelle if you feel like, you know, some of the things that we're talking about resonates, some things don't. She'll direct you. She'll guide you into the right direction of what you need to do with your life. So I just wanted to put a little disclaimer out there because I know that relationships could get a little touchy,
Yeah, no,
you
that's
know?
true. And you're right on some people think what works for somebody else will work for you. And that's why I do free consultations because I need to know what's going on with you. And I
Right.
could tell you right now, a lot of my clients are all dealing with different things,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and need different things. So that's why I always do the consultation. Because it just you have to design it for them.
Right.
So that's definitely important.
I love that. So you also meant you talk about voice, someone's, you know, finding their voice, reclaiming their voice, and standing on boundaries. Why do you think reclaiming your voice is such a pivotal part of self-love?
Whew, good question. If you have no voice, it's almost like you don't exist.
Mm.
You know, am I making sense? Like
Yes.
it's like, you know, you have to have a voice. It's just like again, like you're not a robot. You're not just this person that just sits here and you're just that you have a voice. Use it. You know, and I'm heavy on boundaries. I am heavy on boundaries. Listen, I come up with different boundaries like every other month. I'm like, oh, here's another boundary I need. Because sometimes you're going as you're going, you're like, oh, wait a
Mm-hmm.
minute, I need to add this. Like I literally have a journal of me writing certain boundaries down. And it could be
Oh
for
my God.
whoever, but it's
Right.
my boundaries. And I write it down like, wait, I got a new one.
I
I'm
love
so
that.
excited about boundaries. So I'm like, I'm always telling people, like, wait a minute, like, you have to set those boundaries, or people will walk all over you,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then, or you'll exhaust yourself, and you'll exhaust yourself. You know, a lot of people they're exhausted. They're like, oh my god, because he did this, and because they have no boundaries. You
Right.
didn't say no when you should have said no. You know, and I think I told you this before. If I have to, if the first thing in my head is no, that's my answer. That's my
Yes.
answer. Because I'm like, no. Like, you know,
But
But if
some
I'm
people
okay
operate
with it,
like that.
you have to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you start thinking about it, then you're like, oh, you're going to give in. Now you're taking away whatever time you were going to do, whatever you were going to do. Now you can't do that right now because you have to do this because you know, you said yes. So
Right.
I am definitely big on boundaries and
Yes. I'm a big
saying no.
Listen, once I learned about boundaries, I'm like, oh, I can say no.
And it feels so good. Like when
It
you are comfortable
does.
with it and you say it, no, no thanks. Oh no, I can't do that.
And that is a pivotal part of finding your voice because you're able
Yes.
to say no.
Yes. Yes.
See, like coming from my experience, I could not say no for the life of me. Like I was just like,
Mm.
I had a friend
Yeah.
and I would always give my yes. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yes. Knowing damn well I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't have. I didn't have the resources, but I
Mm-hmm.
did what I could to do it.
Yeah.
And eventually I lost my voice. I lost my
Mm-hmm.
ability to speak up for myself. I lost my ability to do things for myself. And like you
Yeah.
said, I like slowly start, you know how you have the meme of Homer Simpson going
Oh
into the
yeah.
bushes,
Mm-hmm.
slowly disappearing
Yep.
because I failed to use my voice.
Mm-hmm.
I failed
I
to
was
say
like that
no.
before too.
It's crazy, right? And then once you come
Yeah.
back from that place, you're like, "Oh, hell no, I can't go back there."
What what became the reality and how I realized was when, because mine was also with a friend,
Mhm.
is when I did help them, even though I wanted to say no and I knew this would be an issue, they were ungrateful about it
Mm,
and kind of dismissed what I did. And I was like, hold up. Okay, I'm going to show you. But, and that's when I was like, you know what? This is why I need to say no.
mhm.
So, and that's why my no is important, because if I have to, I will never, and I've dealt with that a couple times, but that was like the last straw right there. Like, oh, you're ungrateful about it? And then you dismiss what I did as if it was no big deal. Oh, okay.
Right.
Next time it'll be no. So
Yes. We have to use our voice. It
it's
is
so
a
important.
big part of our identity, especially as women when we're so emotional. I mean, men too.
Mm-hmm.
But when we use our voice in the right way to bring about healthy confrontation, to bring about
Mm-hmm.
our standards, to speak on our boundaries.
Yeah.
Listen, if you don't feel your love, like your self-love after that,
Mm-hmm.
because let me tell you, I felt it. I was like, "Ooh, I love me.
Yes, I'm heavy on
I
loving
like this version."
me. Yes, yes, I am heavy on loving me, and everybody should be.
Right.
You have to. You have to love yourself. You have to love yourself more than anyone, because you have to. Like I said, you can't fill a cup when it's empty. You don't have that self love. How are you able to love someone properly?
Right.
Because you don't even love yourself. You don't even appreciate yourself to love yourself. So how can you love someone else and give them the proper love that they want?
Exactly. Now, for the women who are out there, and let's say they are doing the work, they're
Mm-hmm.
going through the healing process, they're using their voices, maybe not as much as they should, but they're starting to, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
coming out of their shell,
Mm-hmm.
and they're setting their standards. This is what I want. This is my non-negotiable. This I will not put up with this. Okay, they're stepping into their power,
Mm-hmm.
and then someone says, "Ooh, you changed." What words of advice can you give to women who are in the process and people around them are uncomfortable with this new version that is coming forth?
If they're uncomfortable, then that's not your circle.
Mm,
It's just that simple. If they are uncomfortable, they're not your people. They're not. Because your people are going to love every version of you that's evolving and becoming a better you. So if you're becoming a better you and they're like, I don't like this, you changing, this is, they're just not your people. And that's who you need to walk away from. Whoever that is, it may be family, friends, whoever. They're just not your people.
mm.
Partners. So just not your people.
I love
So
that because oftentimes they're used to the version of you that is used to shrinking.
Yes. Yes.
Used to staying small.
Mm-hmm. They're
And
like,
when you start
especially when
standing
you
up,
have boundaries.
hmm and when you start standing up, you're taking space now. Oh, hold on.
Yes.
And they're like, I'm uncomfortable. I don't like this.
I'm like, oh, okay. Good to know. So, that's it. The last time they're gonna see me around. So good to know. That's uncomfortable. All right. I'm here to
Yeah,
make people uncomfortable. I'm here for the uncomfortable people to come out and let me know they're uncomfortable. So I know who I need to cut off
right.
or remove myself from. So
Now, often that's not easy though. I know that it's probably easier for us to say, right? Because
mhm,
we've cut off I don't even know how many people at this point, right?
mhm, yeah, yeah, yeah.
But for the people, for the women that are just starting this, how can they navigate this new version of themselves that, finally started to say no, finally started to set their standards and their boundaries, but they feel alone, they feel
Mhm.
scared? What are some words of advice that you can give someone?
I would say if you feel, because it's your nervous system, right?
Mm,
So if you feel uneasy, if you feel like, oh my God, I'm nervous about this, I'm scared about this, I always say then that means you're probably moving in the right direction
mm,
because now you got to sometimes it makes you uncomfortable. You're like, because you're not used to this. Um, but that feeling is going to go away the moment you step, and you get in it, you're like, oh, I like this. I like
right.
this. Every situation is not going to be comfortable. The steps we make, the self love, like you said, all of these things aren't going to be comfortable for us at first. Because if it was, it would be that easy, right? Everybody
Mm,
would be self love, boundaries, everybody would have all these things together.
right.
It's going to be uncomfortable for a little bit, but you got to take that step. You have to take that step. You can't just sit there. So I'm always saying if something you're scared about, then that means you're probably moving in the right direction.
Trust the process.
Yes, you have to trust the process because you have to start the process because if you don't start the process, then it will never ever happen.
Right.
And then that's when you're still in the same cycle.
Mm, mm. So, so good, Michelle. This has been so good. I want to transition to the soul snacks and piece of the puzzle segment of the podcast.
Mhm.
So, piece of the puzzle is going to go first. I believe that every single one of us has a piece of the puzzle.
Mhm.
No matter what your background is, your religion, your belief system, everyone plays a role in our lives, whether for good or for bad. But it always
Mhm.
ends up for being for the good, right?
Yeah.
What is one person that has been a piece of the puzzle in your life that led you to become this coach that you are now?
Ooh, do they have to be living?
No.
Okay. Then I would have to say my grandmother.
Mm,
I was raised by her. She died in 2010, but she's a big reason why I'm here.
okay.
uh she always gave advice and she was real about it. Some people didn't like it, but she was she was definitely real about it. Even with me, like giving me the advice and the tools and the steps. Like she always told me, you need to know your worth. You need to know this, don't settle for this. And she told a lot of people that it would be neighbors, it would be
Mm.
whoever.
Oh,
To this day, people still talk about my grandma. Like I could post a picture on her Facebook and everybody's comment because everybody has a story with her. So it's like I would definitely have to say it came from her because I was like, oh, I want to be able to give advice because I saw how those people felt with her. How she made them feel comfortable to talk to her, and they were just, and I'm like, oh, this is some real stuff. Like I was like, okay. I want to be able to help somebody before. And I
right.
wasn't sure if I wanted to be a therapist or, but I was like, I know I want to help people, whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was like, okay, you know what? Self love, relationships, this is what people need help on. So,
Right. I love that. I love that.
But definitely my grandma Ruby.
Grandmothers always play, well, most of the time play a very important role in our lives.
Hmm.
So good. Okay, so now let's go into the soul snacks.
Okay.
It has to be, I'm going to ask you a question,
Hmm.
and then you have to give the first answer that comes to mind.
Okay.
Okay? All right, so romantic comedy or psychological thriller?
Psychological thriller.
Well, how did I know? And you, listen, and you, because you deal with too much romance, huh? Listen.
I love horror. I love thriller. That's the outside of me, outside of the relationship coach. I'm so into the psychological thriller.
I hear that one. I love me a psychological thriller. Okay, voice note or long paragraph text?
Ooh, I would have to say voice note.
Mm-hmm.
That way I'm not missing any words. You know how like we
Right.
texting all fast. You're like, hold on, I gotta go back and edit something. I don't have to edit nothing if I'm talking. So,
I'm the same way. Voice note. Voice note all day. And I like to hear voice notes back. I don't want
yeah,
to read your message.
especially if it's like,
All right. Solo date or girls' night out?
oh, I love a girls' night out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love a girls' night out. Solo dates are cool too. Like I don't mind that, but I love a girls' night out. I think people, and I'm married, so
Right, right.
for me, it's like I'm looking at it like I like me a good girls' night out. You know, since I don't get to have that all the time. So,
Right. I love
but
that. I
yeah,
love that. For me, it's a little bit of, it's both. Like I can do
okay.
solo,
Mm-hmm.
but you have your moments where it's like, you know what? I need my girls.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Um, block and delete or let me explain.
I have to explain.
Mm,
Um, And I guess it depends on what it is, right? Because some
right.
people do need that block and delete, but some people do. Sometimes you just like, you got to do it. But if it's not too crazy or anything, I would have to say explain. Like, I
Okay.
always want to hear somebody or get my point across.
Right.
So,
Like explain, and then I'm gonna block and delete you.
yeah, because if your explanation is not, then I'm like, all right, that's it. You know,
Oh my gosh. Okay, last one. Love language. Okay, what's your love language? Words of well, which one would you prefer? Words of affirmation or acts of service?
I love a words of affirmation. I like that over, and I like acts of service too, but words of
Mm,
affirmation before. So,
okay. We're similar. I would have picked, I think everything was the same thing. Because I love me words of affirmation, but I'm learning that I like people to do things for me too.
and I do
Because
too.
we
I
do.
do.
I'm sure you're a doer, right? You do things for
Yeah,
people.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I guess I love words of affirmation because men aren't used to talking or
Mm,
showing that softer side of them. So I want that,
right, right, right.
because they're not comfortable with that. It's kind of like, all right, so I need you to do that.
And if they say it, you're like, oh, you meant that.
Yes, because you're not even comfortable with doing that. Exactly. So,
I get it. Trust me. I completely get it. Michelle, this has been amazing. It has been fun. Tell our listeners how they can connect with you. Tell us about your book. Tell us about your coaching program. Any offers that you have going on right now, let us know.
yes, well, you can reach me at www.annalisaffirms.com, or you can reach me on basically any social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook at Annalisa Affirms. My book, Unapologetically You, to the Path of Unshakable Self-Love. This book is a game changer. It's not a book that you read once. It may be something you need to go to a chapter. Even I go to it. I wrote the book and I go to a chapter like, let me remind myself about a couple things, especially those boundaries. So
Right.
I go back and be like, let me remind myself what I wrote on here, because this is something that you just don't read one time. You come back,
Right.
it's 30 chapters.
Mm.
So you have, and I think it's what, 230 pages. So you have all the tools in this
Right.
book. So when you have to go something, whether it's for family, friends, I cover all of it in this book. So you could get the book on Amazon, or you could go to my site at annalisaffirms.com and purchase it there.
Awesome.
If you purchase it there, I'll sign it. Obviously, if you purchase it on Amazon, I won't be able to sign. So.
And tell us about your discovery call. How does it look like? How do they sign up? Is there a fee? Is it free?
So consultations are free. I don't charge for consultations at all. When you go to the site, it'll say book now. And when you click on that, you could book free consultations.
Okay.
And I have plenty of services designed for different people. I have package deals because some people, I noticed I used to, well, I still sell my sessions individually, but a lot of people go like, hey, do you have like a package deal and things like that? So I create that to their liking. Works for them.
Okay. Awesome. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope the gentlemen have stuck around to listen in, because I feel like this episode was not just beneficial for women, but for men as well, so that you can learn women a bit more, and then you can learn a little bit more about yourself, because self-worth, boundaries, standards, it's universal, right? It's not just for women, it's for everyone.
Definitely.
And for you to learn a woman's boundaries and standards and why they stand strong on that, and for you to set your own.
Definitely.
So thank you so much for tuning into today's episode, and until next time, I'm your girl, your coach, your host, Giovanna Cirillo.